let's go ahead and start. I'm just going to say a prayer, and then we'll rush right into it. Thank you, Lord, for this time. We're so grateful because we know that you are with us, Spirit of God. We know that you are in control. We step aside and we allow you to do every single thing that you want to do in and through this session.
Amen.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So, everybody, I am Coach Toyin, Christian Transformation Coach, founder of the Navigate Way. And I'm very happy to be taking this session with the wonderful and lovely and beautiful and spectacular Bumi Odoa. Now, as you know, our topic today is do's and don'ts while you wait for marriage or other life shifts. And of course, Bumi is our guest. So I would love to introduce her. As you all know, when I have people on my chat, when I chat with people, I like to get them to tell us their statement of self, who they are, who has the Lord said you are, who has the Lord called, what has the Lord called you, and how does your purpose sort of link to that. So I'm going to give Bumi an opportunity to give us her statement of self. Now, when I've asked her in the past, so what do you describe yourself as? Are you a coach? Are you a prophet? Are you a minister? Are you a what? And she's like, no. So I'm going to leave it up to her and for her to tell us who she is. What is her statement of self?
Hi everybody. I'm Bumi Odoa. I'm a girl on God's tab. Basically, that's me. Like Toyin said, I'm not a coach, I'm not a counselor, or at least I try not to call myself those things. People say, oh, you're a counselor, you're a coach, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just a girl on God's tab. So it means if he presses the tab, I have to, pour out whatever he says I should pour out. He's called me the daughter of a king. So when I describe myself as the daughter of a king. So I'm a princess and I'm treated accordingly. So please, when you refer to me as Princess Bumi. I'm just joking. But I am.
Yes, love it.
And I'm a woman that's passionate about relationships. I'm passionate about people, especially single women and married women, actually, just women in general, but more for women and specifically in the area of their relationships. People ask me, so what do you do? And I found that to be an uncomfortable question now because I'm like, before, if you had asked me this question 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, I'd have said, oh, I'm a regulator. I regulate the environment. I regulate environmental legislation. But I don't do that anymore. I now, I blog and I teach and equip women on how to do life, especially in the area of their relationships. So their relationships with their spouses and also their relationships with God. So that's what I do now, more or less.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I love when you say girl on God's tab, daughter of the king. That speaks about somebody who knows exactly who they are and who is also in an ongoing process of finding out more and more from the Lord. And that's very much about what we're gonna talk about this evening. That thing about knowing your identity in the Lord and then living life from that space of having discovered your identity and continuing to discover your identity. There's this passage that I love so much. It's Galatians 6:4-5 in the Message translation that says, make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your life. And I think we're going to do do's and don'ts, and that's really just to give some structure to the conversation. Of course, there's no formula. But at the end of the day, I think what we're going to be handing over and what I know you want to hand over is make a careful exploration of who you are. What work has God given you? And then sink your teeth into that. So don't let me go and give everything away in the first 5 minutes. Our topic, do's and don'ts while you wait for marriage. Do's or other life shifts. Okay. Now, why am I personally passionate about that? Just to introduce the topic. I think for me, waiting, the whole thing about waiting in life has just my life experiences have just shown that the seasons of waiting that we go through in life are really life defining. They can either make us or they can break us. They can, when you're waiting for this one thing, like if this one thing can get sorted out, everything in my life, as in
everything else gets sorted.
It just this one thing, and you say things like, if only I can. In fact, the moment I lose weight, I'll start to travel more. You understand? The moment I, get that job, oh, I'll start to, go on date nights with my husband. Oh, the moment I, and it's like there's this one thing that you think is going to be the trigger to everything in your life. And I have found in my life that when you now get that one thing, you realize that, there are many other one things,
Actually.
but actually it was never really about that one thing. And then, of course, just specifically in relation to marriage, we're in a context, where whether you're married or not, it's almost like a banner or a trophy. Do you understand that you feel like you need to have in order to license to live type of thing? It's like your license to live. And I've seen a lot of people, who are experiencing a lot of loneliness, genuine loneliness, but also just the brokenness, that comes with the way society treats you when you are single. So we've got lots of single brothers and sisters who are watching or who will watch the replay, and I would like us to speak to them, to encourage them, to help them understand that Jesus sees you. Jesus, you're on his tab, like Bumi is on God's tab. You're on his tab. What is his purpose for you in this season? What does he want you to be doing in this season? So, Bumi, tell me a little bit about your passion, for working with single people and encouraging single people in this journey.
I think it comes from a place, mine specifically now, comes from a place of when I was single, there were things that I did that when I look back now, I wish I hadn't done. There were things that I wished I had. When I say my page is called Things I Wish I Knew Before, it really is that. It's the things I wish I knew, I wish I'd known then, the things I wish I had known to do, and the things I had wish I'd known not to do. So, that's really one of the reasons why, and one of the main reasons why I set up the page that I set up. So it was really about, okay, so I've been through this journey. I'm now on the other side of it. How can I help somebody else who's still on the journey? And really, it comes from that place. The reason why I'm also passionate about it is because marriage is so important. It's so life altering and life changing that it's in our best interest to get it right from the get go rather than get it wrong. So it's like, well, why let people get it wrong and then we try to fix the wrong, rather than actually, if we got it right from the beginning, then we don't have to fix the issue after. So really, that's the kind of thing that drives me, that no, let's avoid having to get to the point where we're having to fix problems. Let's avoid having to get to the point where we're having to fix marital problems, the issues. Today I talked about infidelity, and people have been like losing their minds about the comments I made. And it's like, well, why do we have to do that? Let's not do that. Let's actually get it right from the beginning. Not that you won't face challenges, but actually you're facing challenges with a different mindset. You're facing challenges with a mindset of, I'm coming from this with a place of, I started it well. So actually, this challenge is just here to help me get better. It's just here to help me grow. It's here to help us get closer as a couple, And then another reason I'm passionate about helping things is because I feel like a lot of people are stuck, and people are stuck in the I want to get married, to the exclusion of everything else. So they don't think of anything else but this one goal. It's like the one goal for my life now is I must get married. And I guess it doesn't help that in the Nigerian context, we are almost programmed and wired to follow a particular trajectory for our lives. So the trajectory is you are born, and then you go to nursery school, you go to secondary school, and then you go to university. And then as soon as you finish university, for some people, it's either get married straight away, or if you're even lucky enough, get a job, but then get married. So the question you will always get when you go for like the functions is, why are you still single? Where's your husband? And then they automatically look at your ring finger. So it's like, okay, there's nothing there. Why are you still single?
In order to place you.
Like trying to place you somewhere. Like, why are you still single? Why are you not married yet? Where's your husband? Your mates. And then there's
as if you're the one that's going to go and shop for him in the store or something like that.
And there's even a phrase that people use, your mates are getting married. What are you still doing? I'm like, seriously. How does that? But because we've been programmed like that, people's mindset is, I must get married at all costs. At all costs. It has to
Yeah.
happen for me.
Yeah.
And then another reason why I'm also passionate about helping single people, especially in this season, is you're on God's assignment. So it's time to
Mm-hmm.
step into that rather than be focused on
Yeah.
this one thing that is only a
Mm-hmm.
part of your journey. You are much
Yeah.
more than just the marriage. You're much more than just the wife. You're even much more than a
Yeah.
mother. And those things are big things, but they are still much more than
Yeah.
that. What's the totality of your being if they took all those things away? That's really what has
Mm-hmm.
driven me to what I do now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, here are two of us married having this conversation. And so people who are listening might be like, yeah, guys, that's really nice. That's cute, but uh, you're married. You don't know what it feels like,
Mm,
and for me, one of the reasons why I have you bringing this discussion to us is because, like, I didn't go through the experience of waiting for marriage. I've waited for other things in my life,
mm,
but marriage was not one of the things that I've waited for. Yet on my platform, I do have people, who reach out to me and say to me things like, "Oh, Coach Toyin, pray for me this time next year. In fact, before the end of this year.
mm,
In fact, I just came out of Bible study, and this is where I sowed a seed."
mm,
And I'm like, and it's like, okay, now I should join them in prayer, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I would be doing you a disservice if I say to you,
mm,
okay, I'll pray for you, and I keep quiet and I leave it, because in as much as I am not going through that specific waiting experience, I've had other waiting experiences, and so a lot of the principles just run across every waiting experience. And one of the principles that have come that I had to sort of learn to live by in my waiting experience is your waiting season, no matter what it is, whether it is somebody doing you from the village, as in if it's like the devil that is attacking you,
mm,
because we are not sure, is it devil, is God taking you through something,
mm.
whichever one it is, we serve a good God. He is good all the time, and because he's good all the time, he is always working everything out for
Yeah.
the good of those who love him. Therefore, if he is at work in your situation, for me it's like, then he wants you to come alongside him and find out, what are
Mm,
you doing,
mm,
Lord, in this season, so that I can partner with
mm,
you instead of knocking my head on the wall trying to figure out, what's going on. I want this thing now, now,
mm,
now. So that's what I have done. But now to present that to people, if I have not necessarily in situation, it's not always that easy, So that's one of the reasons I find I wanted you to come on
mm,
board, because you've been through that and you speak about things you wish you knew before. That's the name of your platform on Instagram. Singleness is treated as a disease, as a deficiency. And in our culture, I know people who are single who, generally you think, oh no, come on, this is a bit of an overkill, as in relax, you understand?
mm,
Then, but a lot of people that I know that are single, they're doing things right, they're living life, they are following God, serving God, but then there's a genuine loneliness,
mm.
you understand? Because we were made for relationship. God made us for relationship. He made us for partnership, so what are your thoughts about this idea of singleness is a disease, it's a deficiency, something that you need to pray yourself out, you need to fast yourself out of it, you need to praise your way out of it, sow a seed out of it.
Mm.
What are your thoughts about that?
Singleness is not a disease. I think that we need to perish that thought very quickly. It's not a disease. It just happens to be the state that we find ourselves in at a particular time in our lives. For some people, that time is forever. We have to accept that some people
Mm,
never get married, but
yeah,
but for some people, it literally is just a state that we find ourselves in at a particular time in a particular season of our lives, and we need to recognize it for what it is. That singleness is an opportunity and a time to learn, a time to grow, a time to thrive, a time to even find out who you really are and explore who you really are before you get married. Because with marriage, there's a meshing of lives that you don't get the luxury of. You can still find yourself and you can still discover who you are, but now you're finding it in the context of a relationship with another person. So you're not doing it in
yeah,
isolation anymore. Whereas when you're single, you're finding and discovering all these things about yourself, about your life, about your purpose in life, about the people that you're called
yeah,
to, your experiences in life. All of that you're doing on your own, and those things are helping to shape who you are as a person. What tends to happen when you're doing it in marriage is that you're doing it, but you're conscious of the fact that whatever I discover
You know,
has an
why
impact on another
mother?
person, automatically has an impact on
Exactly.
another person, because that's the person I'm in partnership with and that's the person I'm married to. So it's not
Yeah.
a disease to get rid of, you know. And I think
Mm.
that we need to stop looking at it like that. I know people treat us
Yeah.
like we have a disease when we're single. You get treated like
Mm-hmm.
you're a leper, like, oh no, please
True.
stay in
True.
that place, I'll stay in this
True.
place, you know. And
We know about friendships that have broken up, people
exactly,
who get married and they no longer want the single friends to come
yes.
around and all of that. I'm always looking for single friends. All my single friends always dump me. As soon, like I get dumped by my single friends and they go out, they're having fun. I'm like, guys,
I was
I
good.
also want to hang out, but
Exactly. I think that mine
I
was
get
even worse, especially after I had a child. It was like, who would even bother inviting me for stuff? I was like, hello, but I
exactly,
want to come. Why don't
yeah,
you at
exactly.
least invite me and let me tell you I'm not coming
I,
first?
and let me tell you that I don't want to come. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
So yeah, it definitely isn't something to pray out of our lives and, you
Yeah,
know, get rid of. It's a season. And if we recognize
yeah,
it as the season that it is, or the state that we find ourselves in, then we're less likely to make it a thing that is like a problem that needs to be solved. It's not a problem.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
a problem. It's a place that we find ourselves at a particular time of our lives. And we should look at it
yeah,
accordingly.
yeah. Look, I mean, we're gonna sort of deep dive into some of these things when we start talking through the do's and
Yeah.
don'ts. I think let's start doing that since we do have a bit of a list that we want to get
Yeah.
through. So what I want to suggest is that we just speak about the do's and don'ts that we have, and then so that everybody can get them, and if anyone has to drop off, they haven't missed out, and then we can now sort of deep dive into each one.
Mm.
So over to you, Bumi. Please give us the do's that you've come up with. I'm sure it's not a closed list,
No,
but
it
anyway, the
isn't.
do's and the don'ts that you feel we should, while we're waiting, what we should be doing and what we should not be doing.
Okay, so in terms of dudes, these are like, for me, I think they are like foundational. You should be doing this while you're single. I think that the first thing is you should be building your relationship with God. I think that you should be praying, you know, and building an intimate relationship with God. The reason why I say that is that when you build an intimate relationship with God, He begins to reveal things to you about yourself. So, you know, like I said, I talked just a few minutes ago about discovering who you are and discovering your passion, discovering your purpose. Those are the kind of things that happen when you're single. And it's not like I said, it's not like it's exclusive to only single people. You can find it out when you're married. But let's just say that you have the
Yeah,
freedom of just, I can just know and I can play around with it right now. So
yeah,
pray, build an intimate relationship with God. And how do you build an intimate relationship with God? Spending, you know, spending time with Him, praying, spending time with Him, studying the Word of God, spending time with Him, worshiping, spending time in fasting, you know, those things are key. When you do them, they help automatically to build that relationship. Think of it as if you met a guy today, you would have to do things to build the relationship to even get close to them. It's the same principle.
yeah,
It's the same process. With that person, you're most likely going to be talking to them on the phone. You're going to be hanging out with them in person. You know, you're going to be either following each other on social media. So you're looking at each other's social media accounts, you're looking at each other's interactions. It's the same thing. You're basically getting in their space. The same thing applies when you're building intimacy with God. You're basically getting in God's space. Get into His own space. Spend
yeah,
time with Him. And then the thing about it is that when you then start to spend time with Him, He will start to reveal to you your purpose. So people talk about purpose and saying, I don't know my purpose. I don't know this. I don't know that. I say, well, have you spent time even asking God,
yeah,
and how did He make you? Because obviously, you know, there's this phrase of, if you want to know the purpose of a thing, go to the
yeah,
manufacturer of that thing. So it's a case of, if you want to know your purpose, go to the person that made you in the first
yeah,
place, you know. And then as you go to Him, He will reveal His heart concerning you. So He will reveal things that are specific to you about you, you know, and He will reveal like the season that you're in. And then as you start to spend time with Him, you will understand what your season is and what life is supposed to be. So, for example, David knew, even though he was anointed Samuel, he knew that it wasn't time to be king. The Bible actually says that after up and went back
mm,
to looking after sheep. I'm like, hold on, they've just anointed you to be king. How can you just get up and go back? And he was saying that, and basically God
Yeah.
was saying to me that he knew what season he was in, and it was not yet time. There was a reigning king already. Yes, God had rejected that person, and
Yeah.
he had put David as the replacement, but it wasn't even time for David to then go and sit in the palace and say, guess what? Hey,
Yeah.
hey Saul, it's now my job. Get lost. No.
Yeah.
And the verse that came to mind when I was thinking
Exactly.
of that
Yeah.
was First Chronicles 12:32, and it talks about the sons of Issachar who understood times and seasons. Not only did they understand times and
Mm.
seasons, they knew what to do. If you understand the time
Yeah.
and the season that you're in, you will act accordingly.
Yeah.
Remember,
Accordingly.
David
Yeah.
knew the time and the season, so he acted accordingly.
Accordingly.
Zechariah and
Yeah.
Elizabeth knew the time and season, so they acted accordingly.
Acted accordingly.
Jesus knew the
Yes.
time and the season, so he acted accordingly. Jesus was God from
Exactly.
day one, yet he did not
Mm-hmm.
manifest as God in that manifest
Until.
ministry until he was 33. He had 33
Yeah.
years
Mm.
of being,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
knowing where he was supposed to
Of
be.
growing in wisdom, stature, and
Exactly, of
favor with
growing
God and man.
everything that he was supposed to be growing in,
Yeah.
so that when it was time to
Yeah.
step into that ministry, it was not a big deal. It was
Yeah.
easy to step into. So he stepped in, and he stepped in
Yeah.
with ease. He just stepped in and that
Yeah.
was it, done. And he performed so much in 3.5 years because he also
Yeah.
understood that he was on a short time scale.
Short,
He
exactly.
knew
So he
his
knew
time
his
scale was
time.
short.
He
He
had
knew
a
he didn't have
specific.
30 years. He knew he didn't have
Yeah.
4 days. He knew exactly what he had. And so he was
Yeah.
intentional about it. And that's basically what it is. The
Yeah.
first step about getting into gospel is so that you can live an intentional life while you're single.
Yeah.
Live an intentional life.
Yeah.
The second thing I would
Living.
say is prepare. So many people get into marriage unprepared. So they say, oh, I've done
Yeah.
premarital class, so I must be prepared. And I'm going, no.
Mm-hmm.
Premarital class is your last bus stop before you get married. So what else
Mm-hmm.
must you have been doing before you even got to premarital class? And preparation is spending time with people who have a good marriage, for example. That is
Mm-hmm.
preparation. So that way you begin to even feed your mind into what a good marriage looks like. Because
Yeah.
the world is full of marriages that are fragmented, that are falling apart. And it's very easy
Yeah.
to get get focused and stuck on that you miss out on the fact that there are actually really good marriages. Not
Yeah.
only do you find those marriages, invest in those marriages. If they are a couple that have young kids, maybe ask them that you want to help them babysit their kids. It's all part of even preparing yourself for your future, because now you're getting to even see what home life is like for a husband and a wife. So you're not just saying, I want to
Mm.
just spend time with you and it's all selfish. Be selfless in the process and actually give them as well. Say, you know what, I'll babysit your
Yeah.
kids. You guys go out and have dinner or something. Or is there any work that you need helping around in your house? When you're already doing the first, which is building intimacy with God, what will happen is He will even guide you to the right couple to do it with. In that same
Mm-hmm.
time of preparing, grow your skills. So learn home management skills, learn money management skills, learn time management skills,
Mm-hmm.
read books about raising children. Don't wait till you're
Yeah.
you are a parent before you start looking at am I supposed to raise a child. Because the thing
Yeah.
is, these things in quotes don't come with a manual, but there's so much resource out there
Yeah.
that you can equip yourself. So when you finally get into that thing, you're not actually struggling. You're not a
Yeah.
novice.
Yeah.
You're not struggling with
Yeah.
them. You're not struggling with your spouse because you're lacking in,
Mm-hmm.
money management. Money is a big deal in
Mm-hmm.
marriage. Have you learned how
Yeah.
to manage your money right now as a single person? If you have not learned
Yeah.
how to manage your money as a single person, how do you then manage your household income?
Yeah.
Do you think your household income is supposed to be money to be spent and it's for your
Yeah.
pleasure? Or is it that we're
Mm.
building something together and that actually our money is for many things?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
going to be the one that drains your husband's bank account, or is he going to keep thanking God every day that he met a wife who knew how to manage money, or a woman
Mm.
that married a man that knows how to handle money? Because I'm not
Mm.
talking exclusively only to women.
Yeah.
you know,
The women, yeah.
grow your skills, check your behaviors. And one of the things I wrote was attend seminars, empower yourself,
Mm,
equip yourself,
yeah,
learn. There's nothing wrong with
yeah,
learning. We're supposed to be growing every day, and that it means growing in our
yeah,
minds as well. And then
yeah,
review yourself, review your character, be honest enough with yourself to see whether or not there are parts of your character that need work.
yeah,
I used to say
yeah.
that
Very important.
I used to be very lazy. See, I'm not perfect right now, but I used to be really bad. Like it used to frustrate my
Okay.
parents. That kind of frustrate that they used to think this one will never marry because nobody will marry this type. That kind of lazy.
Mm,
And at some point, I just sat there and thought, well, I need to sort myself out because nobody's. If I take this, it's going to cause issues. For me
mm,
personally, I
yeah.
hated cooking. Yet my husband was still saying yesterday
Mm.
to my daughter, even though she can't speak back to him. My daughter's only one. A great cook, and I'm looking and thinking, ah, aren't you glad I
Oh
had that
boy.
waiting season where I could hone my cooking skills? Because trust me, if you married me when I initially wanted to get married, maybe you would have just jumped ship a long time ago. Because I hated cooking and I wasn't even interested in doing it. And when my parents used to try and make me do it, I'd be
Yeah.
grumbling and slamming pots and pans on the cooker, and I'd just cook anything I like. And now I actually take pleasure
Mm-hmm.
in cooking. Why?
Yeah.
Preparation.
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 Yeah.
You know, think
Yeah.
about it, sit and think about it. Are you husband material? Are you wife material right now? Many
Yeah.
are saying, I want to get married today. But actually, if you get married today, are you going to wreck that marriage or are you going to prosper that marriage?
Yeah.
Those are the kind
And
of
I think
questions you
it's
need to
quite
ask
important
yourself.
to even just point out this thing of, you know, from listening to you, I'm thinking about myself from hindsight, and I'm thinking, there's so many things. I've been married now for 10 years this
Mm.
year, and there's so many things that I'm like, oh, I just thank God for God, thank God for grace, thank God for, thank God for mercy, thank God for everything that He is. Because, there's so many things that we just assume that, let me just get married and I'll sort this issue out, my anger issues.
Yeah.
Let me just get married and then I will sort out my selfishness issues. Let me just get married. I mean, there are people who are struggling with pornography, people who are struggling with different types of sexual immorality, and they think, oh, marriage is going to solve it.
Marriage does not
Do you
solve
understand
it,
what I'm
is the
saying? And
problem.
then you get in there, you realize that no, actually, in fact, on the contrary, it does the exact opposite.
So, for
I think
example,
what I'm hearing from you is that, a season of singleness is a great time to work on the different things that would really sort of like set your marriage on the right platform, on the right footing. Or else, if you're going to try to be figuring those things out in marriage, your process is going to be a whole lot more
it's
a
by
whole
far
lot more
harder.
tight, a whole lot more. Yeah.
It's by far
Yeah.
harder to try and learn how to do something when you are in it.
Yeah.
It is by far
Mm.
better to prepare
Yes.
yourself in advance so that way you're equipped.
Yeah.
See, David didn't just
Yeah.
learn how to kill a giant the day Goliath turned up.
Yes.
He had been
Yes.
training and had been
Mm.
destroying people, destroying animals. He had been killing animals and killing
Mm-hmm.
bears and killing lions when they tried to take over the sheep. So that way, when Goliath showed up, all he did was just tap into what he already knew how to do. And
Yeah.
I was listening to something, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, where it was saying the issue with Goliath was life or death. He had to get it right.
Mm. Yeah.
So it was in his best interest
Exactly.
to
Or
have
else.
not gone there as a novice.
Yeah. Mm.
It was life or death.
Yeah.
So he couldn't have gone there as a novice.
Yeah.
So it is in our
Yeah.
best interest to learn in advance. Rather, you can't be learning how to how to be a soldier in the battle.
In the battle.
You don't. They
Yeah.
train you in advance.
Yeah.
Why do you think marriage is any different? Marriage is
Yeah.
something that you should be
That's it.
training in advance. And then the last thing
One.
I was going to say, because I feel like there's so much to say there, and this is not an exhaustive list, this is just going to get you
Mm-hmm.
started, is live
Yeah.
life today. Remember, I said earlier
Yeah.
that there are a lot of single people who are stuck, where they're stuck on the
Yeah.
I want to get married and I won't do anything else till I get married. So, like, for example, I'll
Yeah.
give an example of what I said when I was stuck. I used to say I'll travel when I get married because then I can travel with my husband. And it was a case of then my younger sister came to school and she was like, "Oh, we're going on a holiday to Italy." I was like, "We are?" She's like, "Yeah, why not?" And then she's like, "Send me the link, book tickets, blah blah blah." I'm thinking,
Okay.
at this point, I'm like 13. So my first trip on holiday in quote, I'm 30, and it's not, and I've been at this thing for a while. And I'm not saying you have to travel, but I encourage you to
Yeah.
travel. And sometimes it doesn't have to be out of the country. It can just be to go to a different part of where you live. It can be to go to a
Yeah.
different state. You know what traveling does? And my friend and I still
Yeah.
had this conversation recently. Traveling opens your mind to the possibilities that are out there, possibilities
Yeah.
that you never even thought possible. There is an
Yeah.
exposure that you get from traveling and from meeting people from other cultures and other backgrounds that you can't get when you're in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So that's why I say live life to the fullest, live it today.
Live.
And I was saying to
Live.
Tony
Yeah.
when we were talking earlier was that not to be morbid, there's no guarantees on tomorrow. So wouldn't you want to
True.
have lived the life you were supposed to live today?
True. Exactly. In fact, Jesus
Wouldn't you
called that
like to
man who
know
had
that
the harvest.
you
That story in the Bible. I was saying, well, that story in the Bible where there was that man who had a harvest, and he said, "Oh, now I can put my feet up. I can, I can
and
relax
Jesus
because
like
now I can enjoy my harvest." And Jesus called him a fool because he said, number one, you don't understand your times and seasons. You don't understand that actually your soul is going to be required of you tonight. So we don't like you're saying we don't necessarily have a handle on how long do we have if we stop ourselves from living now. We don't know how much time we have. I mean, I read something today on someone's handle. The person was saying if you swap things around. So let's say you're somebody that says, when I get married, like you used to say, when I get married, I will try. And the person said, swap it around and say, when I travel, I will get married. If when you swap it around, you can't handle it, like, no, 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 I'm not only going to get married when I travel, then you shouldn't be okay with it the other way around. You get what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when I have a baby, I will learn how to cook. You understand? And then you swap it
You
around
can't
and
even
say,
learn how to cook
when
when
I
you have
when
a
I
baby.
when I learn how to cook, I will start having babies. Then you're like, ha. Then you realize just how foolhardy it is
Yeah.
not to live,
Yes.
to stop yourself from living while because you're waiting for one thing.
Waiting for one thing, you're doing yourself a disservice, but you're also doing the person that sent you a disservice because you're not really fulfilling anything when you're staying stuck
Yeah.
and staying in this place of, oh, I'm going to do this after. I remember I used to say, oh gosh, I look at myself now and I'm laughing because I used to say things like, oh, that whole born again business, I'll do it when I get married. I actually said that because it just felt like once you signed up to be born,
I can't imagine you saying that. You look like you've been spiritual since you were
I
born.
know, right? It's amazing what God can do. He's such a redeemer of time. But I didn't give
Yeah.
my life to Christ till I was 2006. So I was
Wow.
22.
Wow.
Yes. So I haven't always, and even then, I wasn't really a serious Christian for a very long time after that. Let's just say I was a part-time Christian until one day God said, "Are we doing this or are we not doing this?"
Yeah.
But I used to say things like, well, I'll do that whole born again woman that's always going to church and praying and everything. I'll do that when I'm married, not before. Guess what? I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't because when I look at my life now, the life that I have today, I prayed for. As in, there are things that are easy today in my marriage that I prayed for when I was single. I
No.
basically arranged my marital life in my singleness.
Praise God.
I arranged things about my life. I prayed things about even my pregnancies. Pregnancy that I didn't even know was going to be a challenge. But I prayed about
Mm-hmm.
even things about my pregnancy when I was single. And it's like, how do you even do
Mm-hmm.
that? But That's all part of preparation. And then when you start to live life for what it is today, you are less likely going to make statements like, I'll do that when I get married. How about doing it today? How about doing it right now? Let me tell you, it's a lot more difficult to even travel. Now, traveling for us, the logistics of traveling, we just came back from a holiday, and just even the list I wrote for my daughter alone, I was just like, oh, for goodness sake. When we used to travel before we had children, before we had our daughter, it literally just get suitcase and go.
Let's go.
So let me give an example. We went away before we even went away as a family. So my husband and I went on a retreat, and we went to a couples retreat together out of the country. And even then, even though it was just both of us, all the preparation I had to do to ensure that my daughter was sorted because we were leaving her behind, all of that. And it's like, imagine if I didn't even try and travel before we got married, or even use some of that time before we had children to try and do life. I'll not be wishing I had done all those things. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Have fun, travel. If you want to set up a business, set up a business. If you want to set up a platform, a non-profit, do it. Like, do it today. And don't let those kind of things put you off, because I talked about that, I think, a few days ago, where it's on my page, when I said, don't say that, oh, well, if I do these things, it'll put off the person that's supposed to marry me. If they're put off, they're not supposed to marry you in the first place. Because the person is supposed to marry you is supposed to buy into the vision that you have for your life. That's why you need to live life today. Going to the things not to do. Please don't have sex. I know that's the one that people just go, oh God, here she goes again. Yes, we've heard. No, but seriously, don't have sex. I know that if it's because in a world.
Is it just sex or carnal relationships? I actually, on my notes, I've got sex or carnal relationships.
Let's even start with sex. Because that one is the one that so many of us are falling. I tell people that I did not get married as a virgin. Just so you don't think that I'm like I said, I didn't give my life to Christ straight away. So it wasn't like I was born again when I was a child. So I have done things, and I've done things that I would not be proud of, but thank God for the blood of Jesus that washes us clean and gives us a new start and a fresh start. But please don't have sex. The reason I say that is because I don't think we fully appreciate what sex does to us in the spirit. And if there's anything I will leave you guys with today, if you don't remember anything that I said today, forget all the do's and the don'ts. Remember this one statement. There is nothing that happens in the physical realm, in this earthly realm, that is not already settled in the spirit realm. So whatever you see today has been settled in the spirit realm. So please. And the reason, so when I tell people about sex and say don't have sex, it's like, oh, you don't want me to enjoy my emotions.
But not be firewood.
I have all these emotions. I want to let it out. How do I know that we're compatible? Can I just address that one? Just so that way, for anybody that's thinking, how will I know that we're compatible? I'll use the example of myself. So when I met my husband, there was no attraction whatsoever. When I say there was no attraction whatsoever, there was no attraction whatsoever. I looked at him, I was just like, okay, and then moved on. Like, okay. Even when he asked me out, there was still no attraction. So what changed? Me, I changed. I suddenly saw something in him that drew me in. Now, don't get me wrong, attraction is important because you need it in marriage. But I had told God before that time that I did not want my heart and anything that was going to get me into trouble to get involved in any relationship unless that was the marriage I was going to get into. So I basically handed my heart and my emotions to God. I left it with God and said, here, there it is. So when it was time and I met my husband, it was still in his hands, remember? So it was only after we started dating, and then he was like, okay, now you can have your emotions back. But hopefully you will even learn self-control in this process. And I was like, oh, okay. So the day he kissed me, I was like, like this. Oh, wow. Okay. You know? But
Yeah.
the reason why I can tell you don't have sex, because obviously I had sex and I know what I had to do to get into marriage.
Mm,
And I couldn't
yeah.
take the sexual partners that I had had with me into
Mm,
my marriage.
mm,
And the reason, when you say that, people go, what do you mean? When I had sex with
yeah.
them, I basically tied my soul with theirs. So if I went
Mm,
into marriage, I was carrying all these other people into my own
all of
marriage.
those people. Yes.
So there are times when you've had sex and then you see yourself behaving in a certain way. And you're like, but that's not
Mm,
me. Yes, it's not you.
mm,
It's the other person and their own spirit.
mm,
And the fact that you've now
mm.
tied your spirit with theirs, so you'd start to do things. Have you noticed that people say that when a couple are married, they start to look like each other?
Yeah.
One of the ways that enables that to happen is sex.
It's through intimacy.
So
Yes.
think about it. If you start to have sex and you have sex with this person, thinking, okay, you think, oh, this person is the person. You have sex with them,
Mm,
it doesn't work.
mm,
You break it off.
mm-hmm.
Think of it like this: you've given them a chunk of yourself, but you've also taken a chunk of them with you.
Yeah.
The next time you have sex again, oh, this is the person, it's definitely the person this time. You have sex.
Mm,
They have sex with you. They give you something, you take something. Another chunk.
yeah.
Suddenly you have two people inside of you that are not you.
Mm,
When you now have multiple partners, you have multiple people inside
mm,
of you and multiple spirits
mm-hmm.
and whatever is plaguing them as well in the spirit realm, and it attaches to you.
Yeah.
It is costly. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And don't use it as a means to keep anybody. If you have to resort to
Mm,
sex to keep somebody, you are not meant to be in that relationship.
nope.
Sex is
Nope.
not a tie in that
Mm,
sense. It will not keep them.
yeah.
And don't use it to satisfy your hormones. Learn self control.
Mm, yeah. I'm actually convinced that almost there's a lot of sex that can happen outside of marriage that if you're still looking for compatibility, because we live in a fallen world. The enemy's first and foremost plan is, can I get her to stay separated from
Mm,
God, full
mm.
stop, or him or her. So, oh, you want good sex? Sure, we can make that happen. As in, it's not a big deal. We can make that happen. Oh, you're looking for somebody who will fulfill you, whatever. Oh, sure, we can make that
Mm.
happen. And then what happens a lot of time is that people get into marriage and then they get the shock of their life, because then you now have to face the reality of,
Living with
are you
another
really
person.
compatible? The person that you thought you were compatible with before
And actually,
you got married, suddenly there's nothing there,
what
because
about
at the end
faith?
of
Where
the
does
day,
faith come into play if you then use sex to find
yeah,
out your compatibility? The Bible says we walk by faith and not by sight. Compatibility is by
right,
sight. If you're doing it like
yeah,
that, you're doing it by sight, you're not doing it by faith. Then where's
yeah,
the use of your faith? To what
yeah,
purpose is your faith?
yeah,
Your
yeah.
faith is null and
I love
void
what
at
you
that
said,
point in
right?
time. If
The
you're not, if you
Yeah,
think you have to find out, you have to test the package first.
yeah,
You have to test it to
yeah,
see if it works. And then people are like, yeah, but
yeah,
if somebody has married and found out that the person was a hot mess after marriage, I said, you know what the problem
mm-hmm,
is? We have been sold a lie that if you don't do it like this, it won't work. If you don't do it like
mm,
this, it won't work. But actually, the way God ordained it was that you would be two novices
yeah,
that would come together and then explore and learn about each other,
Lord together,
learn about your bodies
yeah,
together, learn about what makes Bumi respond, learn about what makes this other
yeah,
person respond. So that way, when you're doing it,
yeah,
the joy of even knowing that you've pleased somebody like that. And look, this Insta live, this Facebook live is not really about sex, but I feel like somebody needs to hear it.
mm,
You know, you
yeah,
so that way. But what happens when you've already tried all the other things, and one person made you swing from chandelier, and the other one made you do like this? Then when you enter marriage,
that
you're
one,
now comparing the person you are with and saying, "Oh, he didn't make me swing, so obviously it must not be working."
mm, yeah,
Can you see how we've kind of just killed the marriage before it has
yeah,
started? These are the kind of things that this
yeah,
is why you don't have sex. So you don't have to compare your spouse to
yeah,
anybody else, because there should be no comparison. I actually got to a point in
yeah.
my walk with
Be
God
growing together and
and
learning
learning
together.
together. I
Yeah,
got to a point where I told God
yeah,
when I was single, It should wash my mind, cleanse my mind of everything I'd ever done. Basically take me back to virgin state, starting here. And God was faithful enough that, when I got into marriage, I wasn't having to compare my husband to anybody else. But yeah, don't have sex. Number 2, don't put your life on hold.
Before you go on, I just want to mention again what you started out by saying of the impact in the spirit. And for me, as you know, I often it always comes back to that with me, which is we have to understand that in as much as most of us, all we are conscious of is what we can see, what we can hear, what we can touch, what we can feel. We are spirit. God made us spirit, and there is a whole spirit realm that is the real side of life. And everything we see in the physical is a product of that. And so when we have that mindset in relation to sex, we understand that when you're having sex in a way that does not please the Lord, it's not just about how you feel and your emotions and your body. You're sealing deals in the place of the spirit. You're making covenants, you're making pacts, type of thing. You're entrenching yourself in certain spaces in the place of spirit. Then you see things unfold in your life, and then you wonder, why am I struggling with this? Why is this a problem in my life? Why can't I get past this? Why can't I, even the very marriage that you're trusting God for, that why is it not happening? Or the marriage comes and then you're struggling with certain areas of the marriage. Why? A lot of deals have been sealed in the place of the spirit. And now you don't have to go through a whole unraveling process, a whole dismantling process, breaking process. Of course, the mercy of God is available, and the grace of God and the power. But I am also a recipient of that. But if you are listening and there's still room for you to break free from those things now, before you get married, break free. It is more than worth it, and it is so much more difficult to be dealing with that stuff within marriage. Okay, so let's go on to don'ts number 2.
This one, there are 2 things together. Don't make marriage an idol. That it now becomes your be all and your end all, and to the exclusion of everything else. And that there's a way something is an idol. There are ways that you start to know something is an idol, where every time you talk about something, this thing must come up. It is all about this thing and this thing alone. Like everything you do, it's because I'm getting married. Because I must marry. Because the Bible says that God is a jealous God. If he's a jealous God and he says do not put anybody else before him, what do you think he will do to the thing that you've put before him? What will he do to the thing that you put before him? He's jealous enough, and he's a righteous judge. What will he do to the thing that you put before him? Many people have made marriage an idol, and we've made many things idols. Don't get me wrong. Exactly. But marriage in particular is an idol. I know it was an idol for a while in my life, where it was like I was so consumed with it. I need to marry. I must marry. And you see, when you put something as your be all and end all, you will do anything and everything for it to happen. So you will do things that you should not do. You will accept people that you should not accept. You will go places that you should not go. You will say things that you should not say, just so that you can have this one thing. And actually, that's not what God wants for you. He doesn't want that for you. When you make marriage an idol, you're pushing God away, because he can't behold things like that. He's not on the level of whatever it is that you want. And then like we've said it, but it kind of feels like I need to say it again. Don't put your life on hold. As I said, it's 2 things together. Don't make it an idol, and then don't let it make you put your life on hold. That everything revolves around only this one thing. It's the same way that at some point, like one of the things I was saying to them today on a video I did on my Instagram, that the post that I did today was a painful post, that I did not want to do it. Like, I was fighting God about it for a long time. I've been fighting him for a long time about it. But there's another one like that, and that other one is the one about having children and wanting to have children an idol. And I was like, oh God. I said, these things are sore points. I can't be the one saying them. Please don't use me to say it. I'm just happy to be cool, telling girls to stop. Look at that guy. He's not good enough. Look at that. I want the cool topics. But basically, he was saying, don't make marriage an idol. Don't make this one an idol. Oh, somebody asked a question. I'm coming back to that.
Yeah. We see you doing.
Don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
No, don't make marriage an idol. Don't let it become your be all and end all to the exclusion.
Yeah.
It will wreck your relationship with God, and it will wreck your life in the long run, because you will get into a marriage because you want to be in a marriage at all costs, and then you will sit back and think, I should not be here. You will already be in it.
Toyin's question ties in really nicely. She says, "What about people leaving churches because they believe there are no guys in the church?" And just to, add on to that, some of the things that I was thinking about in relation to this specific don't was this thing of diluting your standards, settling, ignoring the red flags. Like, you can see that this man is stingy, or this woman is a spendthrift, or that this man, doesn't treat his family right, or that this woman is too attached to her mother, or whatever. You can see the red flags, but you're just like, hey, you know what, this marriage, I just need to enter. When we enter, we will now sort everything out. No, don't worry, let's just enter. We will now sort everything out. To the extent that, like Tony is saying, people will say, you know what, I need to actually step out of the church space just for a minute. When I find him out in the club, or when I find him out in the whatever space, and I'll bring him to church. We will now come back. I will be doing church together. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
See,
yeah.
Let me say this gently.
Yes, please.
Changing churches or changing locations is not a guarantee that you will meet the right person.
Yeah.
You can change locations and not meet the right person. There is a phrase that a family friend said to me when I was leaving Nigeria to move to the UK. He said to me, after I'd been here for, I think, a year or two, he said to me, God will bless you in the place of your assignment. For those that are looking to change churches, my question is that your place of assignment? Oh, I'm going to change from this church because there are no men in this church. That's okay. I used to go to a really small church before I go to the church that I go to now. In that same church, there weren't many men. And yet, I know 2 couples where the husband found the wife in that church. There were more women than men. And there are at least 2 marriages that I know very well, where they're not random strangers, they're my friends. Those 2 marriages took place while I was there.
Yeah.
See, it is not a determination, it is not by the number of men that you will find your husband or you will find your wife.
Yeah.
It is about, and none of these shall fail, but the Spirit of the Lord shall gather them together. He can gather you together on a plane, or in a bank, or in your office, or in church, or at the gym. The question is, what are you doing for him to do the gathering?
Yeah. Very good.
What are you doing for him to do the gathering? Because he's the one that gathers.
Yeah.
He says his Spirit will gather them together. And the verse I just quoted is Isaiah 34, verse 16. For those that are wondering if I'm just plucking words out of the air, no, I'm not. It is the Spirit of the Lord that gathers together. Let me tell you my friend got married. She got married now at the end of 2017. I got married in 2016. When I was going to get married, I did my traditional wedding in Nigeria, and I had my church wedding here in the UK. And a few of my friends went with me to Nigeria. Of my friends that went with me to Nigeria, one of them met her husband at my wedding.
Nice.
She didn't leave church, even though it felt like, yes, the men are not plenty in church. There are more women than men. When we have singles programs, 80% are women, 20% are men, if they even turn up at all.
Yeah.
My pastor used to say something that
Yeah.
when Abraham's servant went to look for a wife, he went to a specific place. He went to a well. That there are wells, and we can create wells. That message, it's such an old message. I can't even, I'm not even sure if I know where to find it today. But he was saying that Rebecca was met while she was on assignment. Eliezer met her while she was on assignment. So rather than thinking I'm changing churches because there are no men here, how about you get into your assignment?
Get into your assignment.
And then God will meet you at the will that He has created within that assignment.
Yeah.
And then the last
Just
thing,
taking us back to that verse.
and then the last one I was going to
Just
say.
taking us back to, sorry, just a second. Just taking us back to that verse, Galatians 6:4-5, the Message version. I love it so much. My pastor is the one that he always quotes it in the Message version. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given. Then sink your teeth into that. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your life. And what you're saying is that while we are busy doing the thing that God has called us to do, walking in our identity and our purpose, in season, God will bring to you the next phase, the next thing in your life, in your season. Okay. The third don't.
It's twofold as well. It's don't settle and don't do trial and error. So number one of that, if it was like my mom asking you a question from her exams now, explain this thing in two parts, something like that. You know, like how the question is always pregnant. Part A of the question is A, this part B of the question. Think of this point as part A and part B. Part A is don't settle. Don't settle by, don't lower your standards, but then again, make sure your standards are godly.
Are godly. Not carnal.
Don't make carnal standards. Don't. It's not worth it. Don't make carnal standards. I want to say this to you, especially for the women that are listening. You are special. You are valuable. You are beautiful. And you deserve God's best for your life.
Yes.
I needed to say that because the reason why many of us settled, especially as women, is that we've been sold the lie that we can't get the best, that we might as well just take this one and manage this one. The Nigerian context is always, at least you have this one. I remember someone said to me once, there was a guy that was interested in me. And I kept saying to them that, yes, my reasoning was slightly carnal, but it kind of made sense in my head. I said I couldn't imagine myself being in a romantic relationship with him. That there was just something about him that put me off. And they were like, but at least you're in your 30s, at least let man at least be stringing him along. And I thought it was unfair. I'm not that person. I don't know how to string people along. My mom says I don't know how to pretend. I really don't. I remember he drove a long way to come and see me, bought me flowers and everything. I went out to, I think it was either lunch or dinner, and all I kept thinking was, when is this date going to be over? When is it going to be over? Don't settle. Sorry. Don't settle. Don't bring down your standards because you're trying to, you want to be in a relationship so badly. You will happily take whoever comes, whoever pays attention to you. Is he the man for you? Is she the woman for you? Are you going to marry at all costs? I must marry. My mates are getting married, so I must marry. No. Don't. And certainly don't do trial and error. Don't say, let's just see how this goes. See, I'm a believer in, if we're dating because we're going to get married after this.
Word.
I'm not dating you to see how things are going. Sorry, no. Okay, my computer has decided to have a moment today. I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? I'm not going to do that. I don't do trial and error. I don't believe in trial and error. It took me a while to get to this point, but now that I've got to this point, anybody that comes to meet me, darling, don't do trial and error. Don't. It's not. Don't let pressure make you get into a relationship so you can be in a relationship. Because those are the kind of things that will make you do trial and error
Being in the
process.
relationship is not the end of the matter. It's not the target. Being in a relationship is not the
It's
target.
not.
The target is being in God's will for
Being
your
in
life.
God's will is
Being
your
His
ultimate
is
goal. So
yeah.
it's a case of, I told God, is this the guy or is this not the guy? Because I ain't going out with him if he's not the guy.
Yeah.
Then people say, but how do we then learn about people? I say, hang out with people in general circumstances. Don't close yourself up with
God is
one
not.
person saying we're trying to
Yeah.
see. How many are you going to see before you decide that you're tired of seeing?
Exactly. That you have now tried everybody. Now you know for sure which
Value
one.
yourself.
No.
I put down here, value yourself enough to stop going on random dates.
Yeah.
And value yourself enough that if your married friends tell you that they want to set you up with somebody, tell them that you are good. That if they really want you to marry, they should pray for your marriage and ask the Holy Spirit to direct you and direct your steps. One of the things I want to write about is telling married people to stop trying to hook up their single friends. Stop it.
And I'm a 100% matchmaker. I love it. I don't do it much anymore because it has never worked very well.
Exactly. And then there's usually that awkwardness.
But I love it.
There's that awkward. Trust me, I've been there. There's this awkwardness afterwards. Do you need that in your relationship with your single friend? No. So don't do it. I would love to. I love love. So I want to be matchmaking with my single friends. But I have received sense because I know that I did not like it when I was single. So I'm not doing it to anybody else. My single friends probably think this Bumi does not even want to try and, hook us up with any of her husband's friends on that. I'm just like, unless you ask me, I'm not doing it. My thing to married people would be wait until they ask you, are you not even going to try and hook me up? Let them be the one that broaches the topic.
Are you open to
let
it?
them be the one that's
for me, I'll be like,
don't force it down their throat. Oh, I think I have a friend. He will be really good for you. And then you that you're different, you meet the guy, you're thinking, is that my friend doesn't know me? Why would you have hooked me up with this kind of guy? I'm serious. There's some of the guys that they did hook up. I'm just like, seriously, do you guys not know me? No, my husband's friend is looking for a girlfriend. I'm not looking for a boyfriend. I'm looking for a husband. They're two different things.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a boyfriend. I'm looking for a husband. And if if he won't know that one. But yes, those are my do's and don'ts. As I said, it's not an exhaustive list, but it's something to get you started. The reason why I don't give you like a 10 steps, 3 steps, I say I'm not a fan of those kind of statements, is because I believe that if you build intimacy with God, He will tell you what you should do and what you should not do.
Exactly.
He will tell you what you personally are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do. So when others are doing certain things, you cannot do them because your relationship with Him has determined that you can't do certain things. So I have a friend, for example, she doesn't use human hair. The reason she doesn't use human hair is because in her walk with God, He has said no more.
Interesting.
But then everybody's journey with God is unique to them.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey with God is unique to them.
And the point is, you need to be on
I have friends that have said God has told them to cut out sugar. Why? Each person's own. He has a reason why He's telling you this particular thing because it's unique to you. He knows you best. He knows what works best for you. And He knows the calling upon your life and what will take away from it and what won't. So for somebody, it might be that He will tell them whenever you go to speak at a place, be it a conference, an event, whatever, only wear a particular color. It's unique to them. But you can't hear these things if you're not in intimacy with Him.
Drawing close.
You can't.
Close. Yeah.
You can't hear whether He tells you today, wear this dress, and that's the dress that the guy notices. That then makes him think, oh, I'm going to step to her.
Yeah. Which takes us right to the very first do that you spoke about, and which for me actually anchors everything. Anchors everything. You said build your relationship with God. Build your relationship with God. I feel that the season of singleness, just like with almost every other season of waiting, because we serve a good God, He's good all the time. He's always working for the good of those who love him. I think the thing is that oftentimes what we think is the good is not necessarily aligned with what God is considering to be the good in this
It can be
specific
good
season.
and it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. It can be good and it's not God. And for us as children of God, we need to be drawing closer to the Lord to understand what exactly is going on in my season of
Yeah.
waiting. Be it that I'm waiting for marriage, I'm waiting for babies, waiting for that job, that promotion. What is God doing? What is His good in this season? And what will He have me do? And that process, I know that, if somebody said that to me in my season of waiting, I would be like, okay, I can do that for the weekend. I'll do that for the weekend. And then after the weekend, I'm like, okay, where the baby at? As in, I have trusted. Where's the baby that's supposed to emerge from this process,
Yeah.
And then baby doesn't come. You know. And so, that it's that understanding that your season is your season.
Yeah.
We cannot manipulate God, even though we do know that many times there are times when God says, okay, you have insisted and insisted.
Feel free, go ahead.
Or take your thing, you know what I mean? But we do not want to be of those who are manipulating God. We want to draw close to Him in deep and intimate relationships, so that as we are close to Him, we see through the eyes of the Spirit. We understand our season. We receive strength from Him for the season. Because I don't think, and it's going to lead me to the last question I'm going to ask you, I don't think the Lord is saying, don't feel lonely. Hey, don't feel lonely. You have a season, okay? You have a season. This is a season. Just go around and be smiling and doing God's work. I feel as if God knows. He knows it's hard. I mean, even Jesus, before He went to the cross, the Bible says He was in agony. He was in anguish. He was sweating drops of blood, because what was ahead for Him was something hard, But He knew where to go to. It was in His place of intimacy that He received strength from the Lord. And I think for me, that's the primary thing I really want to. I feel as if everything sort of falls under that banner. The strength to be able to do all the do's, the strength to be able to stay away from the don'ts. It's gonna come from your intimate relationship with God. It's gonna come from you approaching your relationship with God in a manner that says, Lord, I trust you. I trust your best for me. I trust that you're always good. I trust that in this season, even if they're doing me from the village, you will never allow it to work, because I am your child. Which brings me to my last question, and I want us to address it for people who are listening to us and saying, you ladies need to understand that I'm walking with God. I am pursuing purpose. I know He's calling for my life. I understand that I'm in this season. I understand that, He's with me. He's good. I am not going around having sex. I am not settling. I have refused to settle. I've had many opportunities to just go for the next guy that pops up on my radar, but I have chosen not to. I am following God. But guys, I am lonely. I've obeyed God. This season is hard. What would you say to people like that who were made for relationship, who God has said you were made for relationship? Do you understand? Who have been following and trusting God? What would you say to encourage them?
Matthew 7 verse 7 says, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Keep on keeping on. It's hard. There are days. So I tell people that I when I knew that I wanted to get married, I officially knew I wanted to get married in 2006. That's when the desire really kicked in. Before that, it was just like, yeah, let's do boyfriend, girlfriend. But actually, actively wanted to get married was 2006. Yes. I didn't get married till 2016. I had 10 years of, okay, God. And then I gave my life to Christ in 2006, so towards the end of 2006. And I was saying to God, okay, I'm doing the right things. I'm doing what you want me to do. I'm saying what you want me to say. I'm living life and I'm walking out this journey with you. But here I am. God, some days it's just tough. The thing that we forget, I was reading John 11 today. I was talking about the story of Lazarus. And he says that and Jesus saw Mary's anguish and he cried. Let me read it for you. I want to read it because the words there stood out to me, that You're not with someone who has no feeling about how you are feeling.
Yeah.
You're not in a relationship with someone who, where is it? So when Mary heard this, she quickly went off. This is John 11:29. So when Mary heard this, she quickly went off to find him, for Jesus was lingering outside the village at the same spot where Martha met him. Now, when Mary's friends who were comforting her noticed how quickly she ran out of the house, they followed her, assuming she was going to the tomb of her brother to mourn. When Mary finally found Jesus outside the village, she fell at his feet in tears and said, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus looked at Mary and saw her weeping at his feet, and all her friends who were with her grieving, he shuddered with emotion and was deeply moved with tenderness and compassion. He looked at her and he was overcome with emotion himself. That's the God you're in a relationship with.
Yeah.
That's the God that's saying, keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
He says in Galatians 6:9 that do not be weary in doing good. In due season, remember that word, times and seasons.
In due
In
season.
due season, you will reap a harvest. When Jesus looked at Mary, you will. It's hard. There are days, trust me, there were days when I was insulted. When I would turn in my bedroom, I would face the wall and I would weep. And I would tell God that He was watching as I was being insulted because I was single. There was one incident in particular I haven't, it's not like I've held it as, I've dealt with the forgiveness part of it, but it's there as something to use to encourage somebody else, because the Bible says that when you have been through what you've been through, use it to comfort someone else.
Yeah.
That particular one, I was reminded that I was single. I was reminded that I had no child. I wept in the way that I had not wept in a very long time. I wept the kind of tears that I was literally, my body was shaking. Where I was saying to God, how can you sit in heaven and watch my life look like this?
Yeah.
So this girl that's talking to you today is not talking to you just from a honky-dory journey. Like I said, the desire kicked in probably 2000, not even 2006, 2005, because I met my ex in 2005. And it was him that I immediately wanted to get married to. 2005 to 2016, that's 11 years. 11 years of saying to God, where are you? And I remember at one point in time, especially after my younger sister got married, I asked God, I said, what is going on? Why am I the one that is single? Because we never thought I would be the one that is single. I thought we would both be married. But why am I? It's not just that I'm single. There is no man. Nothing. What is going on? And I remember I kept asking the same question over and over, 2 years straight. I asked him from 2012 to 2014. In February 2014, he said to me, Olupomi, do you know why you're still single? I said, well, I've been asking you for 2 years. I guess you're about to tell me now. He then said to me, look at the pattern in your family. The first daughters are all single mothers. There is a spirit that ensures that first daughters stay as single mothers. You're a first daughter. That is not going to happen to you, because I, God, am personally working out your problem.
Amen.
From that day, Toyin, I never asked God, when will I get married? Something turned. Why? Because God said to me, there is a problem, but it is being fixed. Be patient.
Yes.
This is what happens when you are intimate with God.
Place of intimacy.
If you are intimate with Him, you can ask Him anything and He will tell you. Why? Because He says, call unto me and I will answer you, and I will show you great and mighty things. In the Amplified Classic, it says, fenced in and hidden that you don't know. That He will shine light upon dark places.
On things. Yeah.
There is a place that God wants you to get to, and that place is in Him first. See, if He gives you the marriage and you are not in Him first, that marriage will wreck you. You will probably say, yeah, but the unbelievers are having good marriages. They are. on the surface,
Yeah.
but go beneath the surface. Which one do you want? Do you want a good marriage or do you want a God marriage? From the day he told me what my problem was, I never asked him again. Guess what? I met my husband 4 months later. 4. So I've been asking the same question for 2 years, and then within 4 months, I meet him. And then he doesn't ask me out. So this is the thing about, even when God finally answers you, you should pause and be like Esther and say, the king has said, what do you want? Even up to half of the kingdom. And she says, no, what? Come back tomorrow again. Don't worry, I'm good. You need to come to the place where you can say, don't worry, I'm good. Come back tomorrow. And that's in your relationship with God.
Yeah.
So I meet him in June 2014. We're in a group, in a general group. Nothing's happening. I noticed that I start to like him around October. And then I go to God and say, you know what? I've been down this road before. I'm not doing this. Here is my heart. You can have it. I personally refuse to do trial and error. So I handed my heart back to God. And I think somebody needs to hear this testimony. In June 2014 as well, I had a dream. In the dream, I saw someone that I knew from when I was much younger. And she said to me in the dream, she said, look at the sunset. And I turned and looked, and the sun was setting. And then I heard in her voice, but actually it was the voice of God. As the sun sets, so your single season has ended. It has set. You are about to get married. That was, I heard that dream. I woke up, I wrote down the details. I still have the details in my journal.
It's God.
And then I meet my husband in June. But, and this is the thing about being intimate with God, I also meet many other men. Many other men start to show interest at the same time. See, when they give you a prophetic word like that, even if it is one-on-one with you and God is one giving you the prophetic word, ask the Holy Spirit to guard the word with you, to make you sensitive so you know which one is good and which one is God. There were many good men that turned up around that same time too. Guess what? They were even showing interest. My husband was not showing interest. All he was a friend in a group. And then I noticed that I started liking him in October. I told God, you know what? I'm not doing this, please. So I'm like, you know what? I'm still talking to him, but I'm not talking to him with mindset of I'm starting to like you. I'm just talking to him generally now. Because I've caught myself, and like you catch yourself doing something, you stop. In January, my friend calls me on the phone and she says, I've seen something in the spirit. I can see your husband. I say, you can? Really? She says, well, God said we should pray for 3 days straight at midnight only. I said, okay, no problem, let's pray. We pray for 3 days straight at midnight, but we say a specific phrase. We tell God that we have seen him in the spirit. We want him in the physical as well. I know the date because God constantly reminds me of that date. It's January 13. Between January 13 and February 13, my pastor speaks to me once and he says to me, there's a young man that likes you. I'm like, there is? In a church that is big like this, why not? If not, I'm like, oh, really? Who? And then he says my husband's name. I'm like, He then says to me, what is God saying to you about him? And at this point, I had started to have dreams about him. But everything, remember, because I told God that I'm not going to get my heart broken, everything is taken into the secret place and left there with God. I'm hoping that somebody is learning about why you need to be in the secret place, why you need to build that intimate relationship with God.
Yes. Yes.
On February 13, my husband calls me on the phone. But before he calls me on the phone, I've gone to God and I say to God, they say that this young man says he's interested in me. Is he the person you want me to marry? I hear God clearly. And it's one sentence, one word. Yes, it is him. Or one sentence, yes, it is him. He then says, remember, on January 13, you asked me that he must manifest himself physically. He has manifested. He asked me out February 13, 2015. By June 2015, I've picked these rings. I had done my introduction by October. By January the next year, I had done my traditional marriage, and by April, I was married. In 14 months, what I had waited for almost 11 years happened in 14 months.
Hallelujah.
You've done everything. The Bible says, after you've done all, stand.
Stand.
You've done everything right. Keep standing. That's my encouragement to you tonight. I felt like I had to share my testimony so that you knew why I'm saying stand.
Yeah.
Don't let build your relationship with God so that you will recognize good from God. There were good men that came, but I had to know which one was God. Why did I have to know that it was him and not the other person and the other guy and the other guy?
Yeah.
Because when I now started to struggle to have children, my husband did not stress me once. There was nothing physically wrong with my husband. The challenge was in my own body. I had my daughter 2 years. No, what? Yeah, 2 years after we got married. But trust me, those 2 years, I saw the inside of a hospital well. But if I'd married good and not God, what do I know I would have faced? Who knows whether I'd still have that? I'd have any of the child that I have today. Would I have her?
Yeah.
But no good from God. That's my encouragement.
Yes. Amen. Fire. Hey.
I was like, don't do this, don't do this. But I was like, yeah, we're doing this tonight.
I feel like in my spirit, I feel, yes, you understand. It fit. It fit. I love your response. And I really hope that everyone who was listening to us and maybe listened from the beginning and was like, but guys, but I'm doing this, but I'm doing this, but I've heard this before, but I've been doing this, but I've been doing this. I almost feel as if this is like the grand closing, which was, but listen, having done all to stand, stand therefore, stand therefore, stand therefore. You spoke about Matthew 7:7. The passage that came to my mind was, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due time you will receive a harvest if you do not lose heart. And I think the very next verse goes on to say, you know what? God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you will reap. He is not going to owe you.
Yeah.
You know, you have been in obedience to him. We're not saying you've been perfect. Nobody's saying, oh, be perfect. And then, you've been in obedience. You've surrendered. You have come to him when you've messed up. You've been like, Lord, I messed up today. But you know what? I'm still on this course with you. I'm still following you. I'm still pursuing intimacy with you. I'm still keeping myself. I'm still pursuing your purpose for my life. I'm still not going to make my singleness an idol. I'm still not going to settle. I am still da-da-da. And the Lord is saying, I see you, my child. I see you, my son. I see you, my daughter. You will not owe me. As in, I will
God
never
does
owe
not owe anyone.
I will not owe you.
When I tell you that God does
Whatever
not owe
you
anyone,
sow,
He
you will
really
reap.
doesn't owe anyone. I have testimonies of how I can say that. I have so many testimonies of, like, for example, I said to you that if you had asked me a question 3 months ago, what I do, I would have said I was a regulator, but I'm not. Because God said, quit your job and come and do this full time. And I said, if I tell people this, they would think I'm crazy. Let's just say, all this, God said I should leave my job and go and do this, go and look after your child, and then just be equipping people online. It's like, yeah, let's not do that. But I have testimonies of things like just God. one of the most recent ones is my husband got a new job. And when God gave him the package was his old salary and my old salary combined together in one salary.
Wow.
Just like
That's
that.
God.
That in a new job.
God.
And I was just like, them up. But it comes from a place of you must trust him. If he tells you do this, do it. If he tells you go here, go here. If he tells you say this, say it. Just follow him. I can tell you for a fact, I have tasted and seen. I have tasted and seen. I can tell you for a fact, he does not fail.
Yeah.
He does not fail. He will
Yeah.
satisfy, he will repay,
Amen.
he will reward. It may feel like it's
Yeah.
taking its time, but like I said,
Mm.
having done all, stand.
Stand.
Having done all,
Stand.
stand. You'll be amazed at the things he
Yeah.
will do for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. That is it. I really pray, and I know, not I know that those who needed to hear this
Yeah.
have heard, and we continue to trust the Lord along with you.
Yeah.
You know that the Lord who has begun a good work in your life, He is faithful. He will complete
Mhm.
it, but that you complete it with you going through, not having to go through angst, not having to sort of like go through anxiety like the
Mhm.
world does. You know, being able to go
Mhm.
through it, and people will be like, "How come you're so calm?
Mhm.
How come you're so peaceful? How come you're so certain? How come you're so sure? How come you're able to live
Mhm.
with such a bond despite your so-called one thing that you don't have?"
Mhm.
And you'll be able to try and say, "Because I know that the Lord is
Yeah.
good. I know that as I'm walking in obedience to Him, He will bring to pass what He has
Yeah.
promised in due season. In the meantime, I am going to live.
Mhm.
I am going to please Him. I'm
Yeah.
going to live for the
Yeah.
glory of God." Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bumi. Um, yeah, we've been working on this for a little bit, and it has worked out beautifully. I'm so grateful to God. I'm grateful to you for bringing your authenticity. As I've said before, I love your authenticity. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, any last words before we close off?
Um, just keep on keeping on. Don't lose
Yeah,
sight of what's important. Don't lose
yeah,
sight of who you are. Don't lose sight of the person that you are, even as you are in this season. Don't lose sight
yeah.
of where God is taking you. And if you don't know where He is, ask Him. Don't lose sight of
Mm,
what's important, even when it comes to you finally met the one, because you will. When you finally met the
yeah,
one, don't lose sight of what's important. Don't be so hung up on the wedding day that you're not thinking about the marriage itself.
yeah,
What tends to happen is there's all this all this preparation for the wedding day, the preparation for the wedding day, the preparation for the wedding day, and then you get married, and the next day you're like, what do I do myself?
yeah.
Because you've been so hung
And
up
I'm
on this one event, you've not really thought much
mm,
about what happens the day after that event, the week
yeah,
after that event, and the month after that event, and the year after that event. And you don't want to be in that place where you feel like kind of stuck because you don't know what to do with yourself.
yeah,
Keep building. When you finally meet the person, keep building. Work on communication. Work on being each other's friend. Work on
yeah,
knowing each other more, and just spend time. Spend time with them. You
yeah,
have your life is all spread out in front of you. Go and live your best life starting today.
yeah. Live your best life. Live your best life with the Lord.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you,
You're
everybody, for joining. Thank you,
welcome.
everyone, for commenting. If there's anyone's questions that we missed out on, we're really sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on downloading the video and posting it. And I'm really so sad about the Instagram
Yeah.
people, but yeah, God knows.
Mm.
God knows. Yeah, so thank you, Bumi.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
everybody. I think we will sign off. God bless you all,
God bless you.
and
Thank you for having us.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for joining, and have a good
Thank
night.
you. You
Bye,
too.
everybody. God bless.
Bye.
Bye, Bumi. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.